back, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 9 of Fast Track. This week, we got an interactive uh, podcast episode for you. So if you're not watching this episode on Spotify, and I think I'm going to clip this one, I'm actually going to post this one to YouTube also. You need to do it because otherwise you're going to be lost pretty quick. So this week, we're continuing the turkey series, and me and Chris have a random piece of property in a random state. We're not going to mention it just in case people recognize it on the off chance and they hunt that area. We're going to pick it. We're going to each pick what we would pick out and how we would attack it and turkey hunt it as if we found it and we're e-scouting it now and we're boots on the ground hunting tomorrow. So there's no time to go get boots on the ground scouting. We're just straight what we see, what we like, and how we're going to attack. So before we get to that, as always, we got to rep the partners, which I was very happy to see and talk to a few of them this weekend. But first and foremost, Blackgate Trail Cameras, which I hear somebody just got in on the team. Welcome
Yes, yes,
aboard.
yes.
So it's a complete
Thank you.
podcast partner now for Fast Track. Chris just got on the team. There's nothing you can say other than they're the best damn cameras on the market. The R4G Gen 2s just came out, and if you want one, you need to get on them because they're all over social media, so they're going to sell out quick.
Yep. Yep. They're gonna go quick.
The same price as Gen 1, which is crazy because a lot of people up those prices per generation. I cannot wait to get another Blackgate. I am still waiting on selling my two brand X cameras to be able to afford them, but it's not that his cameras are unaffordable. I mean, his R4G Gen
No.
2 is $200, right?
Yep. Yep. Very
199
good
before
price.
tax. So
Yep.
that's hard to beat. The R4G Lite is, I believe, 139.99.
Yep.
And the solar panel, I believe, is 129 or 119 or something like that. But little hack I'll tell you about, if anybody's wondering, they need to check up on WCB's episodes with Austin Chandler, and he'll explain it better. But I'm not going to post it on our podcast live because I don't understand the concept completely. So I don't want to give away any bad advice. But yeah, no, I love Ryan, working with Ryan. I love the cameras,
Yes.
everything that comes with it. I definitely need to upgrade my hat and get one of those new badass ones. But next we have Hillcrest Outdoors. Getting closer to turkey season. If you don't have a shotgun, you need to get over and see him. If you're planning on bow hunting turkeys, get over there and see him. If you need new arrows getting ready for deer season, get over there and see him. He is now, oh, I forget the brand. It's a not it's an out there brand compound bow, but they're on the rise, I would say. But he's an elite dealer. He's a bear dealer, and I want to say it's like starts with an A. It doesn't matter. He's got him there. He's got 10-point crossbows. He's got deer minerals, corn, whatever you need to do to supplemental feed in Ohio, you can. He's got tree stands, fishing poles. I just caught a 3-pound bass the other day. I'm pretty pumped. So that season's right around the corner. Also, if you're shed hunting, he's got backpacks. He's got tote bags. Go check him out. He's got whatever you need. He's on Route 30 in Kensington, Ohio. Then we have Pine Valley Outdoors and the Woodland Doctors, who I actually got to sit and talk with this last weekend at the Open Season Sportsman Expo in Columbus. Got to see the blinds, walk in one, and talk to him about the Woodland Doctors. He has some solid blinds. I'm gonna tell you that right now for good pricing too. If you're looking to get more in depth on that, I'm not going to do a huge ad read because that is what Friday's episode of Grindstone Adventures is mainly about. Um, but he's got great prices on the blinds. His Woodland Doctors, we go into that also. Their invasive species removal, food plot work, property estimates, whatever you need, he'll take care of you. And the man to talk to is Marion Yoder. Go give him a call, and then tell him Grindstone Adventures sent you. So with that, let's get rolling. What's up, Chris?
What's going on, man?
Oh, just relaxing. Kind of
All right. Heck
kind of
yeah.
weird. I don't know. I mean, I'm still in that weird transition from having a long weekend to starting a work week, even though I've worked
Yep.
yesterday and today. But yeah, I'm just my mind's still on this weekend, dude. I'm wearing one of the hats I
Yeah.
bought. I got the cluck call sitting next to me, and I'll tell you
Heck
this:
yeah.
you need one of these. Now, of course, it blurs it. It's the drag strap by Uncle Stubbs. Talk to him,
Okay.
set him up with Kurt Geyer from Working Class. Um,
Okay.
the physics around this don't make sense, but they work. It makes dragging a deer so much easier.
So all you need then.
And then as for the turkey season that I've talked about and our trips we're going on,
Yep.
so I have New York tag, I have my Ohio tag. I was wrong about the draw in Michigan. Leftover tags are only applicable to people that didn't draw. So I have to wait till March
Uh,
25th to buy a special license up there. So I got a little more waiting to go, only a few more
okay.
days. But so 3 states turkey hunting, and I'm being optimistic. Got me a tote rope while I was down
Oh,
there.
heck yeah. Yeah, dude, them things make it super nice.
Oh yeah,
I
and
snagged one last year before Wyoming.
the guy
And
told me, he's like, "What color you want?" I was like, he's like, "You don't want to lose it."
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah,
"That's
I think
something
I
I
went
would
with
do."
orange. I went with orange and like tan.
Yeah, I definitely happy with the neon green. Probably should have went with orange to be honest with you, but I was thinking along my compound, my bow strap, my wrist,
Right.
it's neon green. So,
Perfect.
but yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And today I bought into the application to South Dakota. So we find out in
Oh,
probably a month
okay.
or two. I believe
Okay.
the application deadline is in exactly a month, April
Okay.
18th. So we find out if I draw, but things are
Heck
moving.
yeah.
I don't even have permission from my
I
girlfriend
think
yet.
that's how it is for antelope.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think well, I've got to be putting in here soon. I think we're gonna do a
You
group
need to
draw.
go online like today, tomorrow,
Yeah.
somewhere in there, because it opened the same time as deer did.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we're doing a group draw, and I think there's six of us that are all putting in for it.
Mhm.
So if anybody draws in the group, we're going.
Right,
So we've got a little bit better odds that way.
right.
Um,
I don't know what the draw odds are for speed goats, but I know for mule deer, South Dakota, the odds of drawing, even as an individual, are pretty good from what I've been told.
oh yeah, yeah.
Like it's almost
I'd
like 100%.
Yeah, I think that's what we were looking at. I think it was like 90 something percent draw odds.
Right.
Now for archery, I know rifle is way different. You actually need points, and
Yeah, I'm
it's a
not
whole
in.
different it's a whole different story when it comes to rifle out there. But for archery, it seems like it's a pretty attainable tag.
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, I put into the archery, but it's a statewide private and public round state tag that I put in
Okay.
for. Now, if it's private land, I'm allowed to hunt from September 9th, I think, or something like that, through January 1st. And then if it's
Okay.
public land, it's October 1st through January 1st. So
Okay.
about a month
So
difference
now
there.
is it like North Dakota where if it's not marked private, are you able to hunt it?
I have not found anybody to answer that question yet. I probably need to email the game
Okay.
warden again, which I've been in contact with him several times. But
Okay.
I also need to give our buddy a call and see if he can help set me up with a general
If he
area with
knows.
some
Yeah.
pins, or if he knows anybody that'd be willing to give me permission, because that could drastically change how my trip season. Because let's be honest, if I'm killing Dirty Mike this year, it's got to be early October.
Early.
So
Yeah.
mm, I don't. I'm if I can, I might want to try and get out there to South Dakota in September and come back home hunt whitetail in early October.
Yeah.
So
It should be a little bit, I think personally, it'd be a little bit easier in September too, just because you've still got bucks that are up in those bachelor groups. You know, you're not just
yeah,
chasing one individual buck, especially being an out of state guy. I mean,
and I'm not gonna
I
have
don't know what you're looking for, but
I
if I can kill 130, 140 inch mule deer, I'd be tickled.
even
I'd be like,
120 inch, honestly.
and I know like 130 isn't even that big of a mule deer because they get insane, and guys don't start talking about big mule deer until start talking about 200 inches. But
Yeah,
around here it's like you shoot 130-inch whitetail, you're pretty much your average whitetail. But I'd shoot 130-inch whitetail out of state. I'd shoot 130-inch mule deer out of state. I don't
I'll
care.
shoot a 130-inch whitetail in state.
I did this year.
I've never done it. I passed one, but yeah, I mean, dude, honestly, Braden seems like he's the guy to talk to about it. I mean, he shot a 190 and a
Oh
200
yeah,
already out there.
yeah.
So
He's definitely dialed in when it comes to mule deer out
yeah,
there.
it's crazy. He says he's bored with them now.
Yeah, he got
But
his 200, and now he's been blowing me up. We've been talking about whitetails, and he's like, "What am I looking for?" And I'm like, "Well, basically, take
sign.
whatever you know about mule deer and like throw it out the window." Like
Honestly,
it's complete opposite from what I've been reading.
if he asked me what am I like, what am I looking for over there, I'd be like, well, first of all, like you said, throw out mule deer hunting. It ain't the same.
Yep.
Second of
No,
all,
it's
what time of the year are you coming?
yep.
That's my next question. Because if you're coming in November, I'll be like, well, dude, just bring snacks and warm clothes because you're going to be in that
Hope
tree
and
all
pray.
day. If you're coming early October, I'll be like, well, bring light clothing, rain gear,
Yep.
and
Yep.
be ready to sit from like noon to dark. If you're
Yep.
hunting late season, pretty much
Get on food.
food, food
Yep.
source. Early season, food or water, bedding typically all year round. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can help Braden out with. I still
Oh
think,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think he listens to this, but if he does, Braden, this ain't a shot at you. I just think it's funny. I think there's a 160 pine to every tree over here in Ohio. Like we don't live in Iowa.
I wish, man. I wish. I think, going back early 2000s, mid 90s, I think that was probably true.
Oh yeah,
Nowadays, man, there's just so many hunters that come to Ohio, out
I
of
know,
state,
man.
in state, all over the place. It's like Ohio's the golden ticket for a big buck, and it's like, man, if they knew what we know, I think they would understand where we're coming from. But that being said, there's a gazillion people that come to Ohio every year and shoot a 160.
I
So
know,
I mean,
right?
it's
Yo,
like one of those things where I'm just like, I don't know how to explain it for it to make sense.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, we live in prime area like Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana.
Yep.
Indiana's a sleeper state. Like they got
Oh, for
big deer
sure. They
too.
got some studs.
Excuse me.
Yep.
And then Ohio. And then from what I've been hearing, the very, very southern tip of West Virginia is a solid whitetail state, also, even though it's mountainous. They're bow only
Okay.
counties. And you're only allowed one buck in those counties. So
Okay.
they manage them really well.
They can grow. Yeah, they can grow. And
Yeah. But anyways, we're not here to talk whitetail. That'll be later this year. Uh
yeah.
we're gonna break down this property. So basic overlay is you got a road with a looks like a driveway with a dead end and a roustabout, whatever you want to call it, roundabout. And then looks like maybe a train track with a road coming up this way. I'm betting that is a train track with that being a quarry right there. Um,
Yeah.
and then the drive to the quarry and then the main road back up and around. So obviously you got topo showing. And again, if you're not watching this, you need to be watching this because otherwise you're gonna get lost quick. Um,
Yep.
but you got some water moving through there.
Yep.
And what we're gonna
Couple
do is
couple creeks,
we're gonna cut
some
it in half
field.
right here if you're watching my mouse, and we're gonna focus on this left side here. So Chris, if you want to go first, and we'll pick two different areas. So where you pick, I won't pick. That way we're not, you know,
Okay.
doing the same thing. So um, just tell me which area you want me to point to, and then
I think the thing that immediately grabs my attention, obviously, is that field.
that
But
big one.
just
Yeah.
that north side, you've kind of got that the water coming around, kind of where it comes back around and then shoots back towards the house there.
Yep.
To me, it just those ridge systems, you can see it, on the topo.
Hmm.
You've got kind of two ridges with those little bowls. You've got water along it. That screams to me birds are roosted there.
Yeah.
Especially with it having a little bit of woods. You've got that creek that comes through there. You've got the fields. Right there immediately is kind of what I'm like. Okay, I would picture a bird being roosted there. And that's definitely when I was looking at it. When you were like, "Hey, I think this is what we're going to do. What do you think about this spot?" I started looking and immediately. To me, I was like, "Well, the north." northwest side is like where I would probably
For
be
sure.
interested in off of just escouting. Like looking at this piece of property, you look at it and you think, okay, there's turkeys there. Now where are they? Where are they? They could be really honestly roosted anywhere, in my opinion, anywhere along that field edge.
Yeah.
And they could be roosted anywhere along that creek bottom. You know, I know a lot of those birds, they like to come off those fields in the evening and they almost like those like straight shots. Instead of having to like really fly up, they almost like those straight shots off
Yeah.
the ridge onto a limb. And to me, it just makes sense. You come off that, you know, there's a really good kind of almost like a ravine there where that creek bottom is for them
Yeah.
to just shoot right off of those ridge tops right onto good, you know, good roost limbs.
Yeah. If I'm
So
looking at this, I agree with you there.
yeah,
And by looking at this, I think that might be a hayfield.
yeah, I was trying to figure out if that was like a hayfield or if it's like from just from the pictures that we're looking at, it looks
It's
like a
either
hayfield.
hayfield or CRP
It's
just by looking at
yeah,
it.
it's hard to tell. It definitely doesn't look, you know, I
It's
don't know
not
when these
farmed.
pictures were taken. Obviously, we don't
Right.
have, you know, it could be soybeans, it could be a winter wheat
Well, what do we
field.
got
Honestly,
here?
there
Looks like we got
it's
a
it's
platform.
it's hard to tell. Yeah, I was looking at that too. It looks like some kind of like maybe old, like older barn, maybe some
That,
kind of like barn roof.
yeah.
I was
Um,
looking at that too.
so you're talking like
Um,
this shot down right here, turkey's roosting over in here.
Yeah, yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking. And you know, with that road being on the northern side up there, I don't know how much traffic obviously that gets, but
Right.
to me, like I think those birds will be coming off that field, kind of where that little circle is to the left of your mouse there. If you look like to the left of your mouse where that little circle of the field, it
Right
just
here.
makes like almost a circle, like a cove. No, to the left of that.
Right here.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Almost like a bird. It just seems to me like a bird could just walk right off of that little circle area and
Mm-hmm.
just shoot straight across. But I like that little circle area too because depending on obviously how high that field is, um, it just seems like a bird would go back in there and he could just strut and they could mill around in there, and they're just kind of secluded. They'd kind of be
Right.
left alone
Yeah.
back in there.
So
Um,
let me ask you this. Okay, it's tomorrow morning. You're going
yep,
in. You don't know where they're roosting exactly.
yep.
How are you accessing? Where are you calling from to try and shot gobble? And then where?
So immediately, and I was just thinking about this right before we hit play. If you go back towards the houses and you see there's
This one
two
right here.
giant trees. Yep. Now I'm assuming, okay, hey, this it's private land. I'm assuming, hey, we got permission from these guys. Now we get to dive in there. We're gonna park at the barns, or we're gonna park
Right in
right there
here.
at that little that. So there's a little pull off right there as the road turns. If you
Yep.
zoom in on that, where it's like
Yeah.
600. So
Right.
to me, I would probably listen from those big trees right to the north, right
Mm-hmm.
there, right next to the yard. I would probably start my morning right there, just because I don't know. I've never stepped on this property. I don't want to push too far in if those birds are roosted, right there along the field edges. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that they would be, but you never know when, you don't know where these turkeys like to be. So I would probably start my day by just right underneath of those trees listening. And I'd probably walk up, if you're zoomed in a little bit, you see that first big tree, then you see a second tree, and then you see those two trees that are kind of grouped together.
Yep.
To me, I would probably walk up to those two trees where I can hear down that ravine
Yeah.
and listen for gobbles on that north side. And if I have another guy with me, I would probably send him, you know, maybe down that road a little bit, stay in the truck,
Mm-hmm.
head down that road where that roundabout is, and just listen from the truck and try to pinpoint, birds on the south side and birds on the north side to see if there's different groups.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't have him go all the way to the end of that. I'd probably have him stop midway. But if it was just me and it was like, hey, I've never stepped foot on that, I'm definitely not going to go treacherous through that field because there could be birds roosted on the edge of it.
Right.
So I probably wouldn't venture too far away from the access point immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, once I got, let's just say a bird gobbles and he's somewhere down that north side ravine, and we'll say he's, kind of where that circle is. Go if you drop down that ridge, there's a little bit of a ridge.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going just up a little bit from there. Walk that ridge out, kind of where it starts petering out there into the water.
Yep.
that's kind of where I would say, okay, hey, that's where I'm thinking a bird would probably be roosted. So let's say, hey, there's a bird gobbling there. I'm probably going to work my way through that field and probably get somewhere where that probably right before that gap, in between that gap where it kind of turns into that little cove.
Oh, right here.
And I'd probably wait just a little to the right of your mouse in that field. Yeah, right in there. I'm probably going to wait for that bird to hit the ground
Mm-hmm.
and see where he wants to move. If they're gonna come up to the field, I'm probably just gonna set up in that little circle area. But if it sounds like they're gonna hit the ground and they're gonna mill around there a little bit,
Yeah.
never being on that property, I don't want to be super aggressive. I'm thinking, okay, hey, if I had one day to hunt, I'm diving in there after him, trying to get as close as I can, trying to get it done. But never being on the property, I'm not going to be super overly aggressive. Kind of just be patient and let the bird kind of do what he wants to do and kind of get a feel for where he's headed
Mm-hmm.
as in direction wise. And honestly, I probably wouldn't even call at him until I was within, what I thought was 100 yards of where I think he wants to go.
Right.
I'd probably obviously try to get him to shot gobble. If he's going to be quiet and it's just one of them days where I can't get a lot of calls, I'd probably, I might, chirp at him a little bit, probably some clucks, maybe a few yelps. I'm not going to get overly aggressive. I'm not going to be, cutting crazy and being real loud with my call. Probably
Right.
just doing some soft calling, trying to feel him out. How, is he gobbling all the time? Do I think he has hens with him? If he just trying to play his temperature of the day. But I'd probably be patient, figure out where I think he wants to go, and then I'd probably try to get in front of him and
Yep.
try to get within that, get inside of his bubble before I really started calling at him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think you
And
got that
that's
really good.
probably how I would have. That's probably how I would attack that north side.
So let me ask you this. All right. Let me zoom out here. So this is going to play into this right here. 620 feet elevation on top of this field right here. Now
Yep.
we're assuming the birds are over in here.
Yep.
580, 560, 600. So we're at least
Yep.
between a 40 to 20-foot deep downhill slope down this way.
Elevation. Yep.
So I think I would start here with same line you are. I don't know. I kind of want to, because I'm new to this, I like to play it like I do bass fishing, and I suck at bass fishing unless I can see them. Um, I would probably, if I'm having, I'd ideally want a two-man team, have one of us stay
Yeah.
right here, listening, watching, because they might be roosted up here. They might be roosted on these corners, might be able to see them. And then
Right.
one of us sneak up this tree line over here into like the CRP, get right here, where you might be able to get eyes on them at the tree top level all the way across this opening, and just kind of wait and watch. And obviously, you got to be there early enough to do it, and just kind of get eyes on the situation. But you're not.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll hurt anything sneaking up this, because you got that rise here that they won't see real well. And
Agreed.
if
Yep.
they do call back out here, if they are over here, they fly down, they shot gobble. Okay, now I got eyes on. Maybe I get on the phone. All right, sneak up the tree line, dude. And I just kind of do it like a Western hunt where I'm getting
Right. Yeah.
signals,
Walking and stalking,
or
moving. Yep.
you can easily back down and sneak up and around yourself, or using this elevation to your advantage, sneak out and around and come in the other side if you're following my mouse, and set up maybe from the top side
Yeah.
down.
Yep.
And one of my best friends swears he hates turkey hunting if he has to work from the bottom up to a bird. He really only wants to work a top down bird. Um,
Yep.
I don't have a preference in that. I don't have enough experience to have a preference, but that's just one
So
thing I
he
would see
says that
there.
he likes to work a top down.
He likes to be on top of a bird and have it work up.
Okay. 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 I was thinking you were thinking
So
the other
not
way.
a top down
I am
bird.
the
He's the top down.
Yep. I got you. I got you. I'm the same way. If I can call a turkey up, I would much rather call him up. I've noticed when those birds are, when if they're up on a ridge top and you're down below them, and
Mm-hmm.
they can come like right over top that ridge top and they just kind of look, they're not coming down, especially not on an open area.
It's like calling to
Um,
a deer that can't see another deer.
right, right. Same with turkeys. I don't like, obviously all the situations are different. The only time I will say I do like calling from a turkey when he's up top is if I'm like 30, 40 yards from where he's going to crest. that can be super ideal too, because it's like as soon as they crest, all you have is from like their beard up. It's like perfect shooting.
Right.
So
Not
if you
hurting any
can
meat.
get on that bird, if you can get on that bird, and as soon as his head crests up, you can bust him. That makes for a good time too.
Right.
That I do like working birds off of ridges like that. Um, but no, that's kind of why I was kind of thinking a similar strategy with how the elevation kind of rolls and how it goes off. I know me and you've kind of talked about it, a little bit. They love just pitching right off that side, right into a branch.
Mm.
So to me, I think he's going to be roosted off of the field. He might be roosted right there on the edge. To me, I think he would be roosted
I
more
think he'll probably be right in
towards.
here.
I think he's right. I think he's going to be towards the water. And for me, that's enough distance. That's probably, if I had to guess, 70, 80 yards maybe from the field edge to that water. I don't know. I'm looking at it
Yeah.
on map. It's hard to 100% tell you. Um, and I've got the same map that Zach has pulled up here. So to me, I have no problem working up through that field and kind of, obviously, depending on the woods, it looks like a thicker woods to me. It doesn't look like it's going to be super open.
I'll tell you what, I
You know,
want to
I
deer
have
hunt.
I have no problem, where it gets narrow and it starts widening out. Right where it gets narrow is probably where I would stand if I had a bird gobbling down that ravine,
Mm-hmm.
on that creek bottom. I'd probably stand, right where that field kind of comes through like this before it goes around. I'd probably
Yeah.
get right where it starts, getting real narrow to opening up again. I get right there in the middle, and that's probably where I would listen from, because
Yeah.
that circle area, I don't know. It can't be.
I mean, if they're
I don't know.
roosted right
I
in
was
here,
figuring that circle area is probably 100 yards across,
yeah.
roughly.
I mean, my little toggle thing says 50 feet. I mean, it's got to
So
be.
let me see. I know you couldn't get your line distance. Let me see if I can get that working
I mean,
on
it's,
mine. Okay,
yeah, it's not
it's
working great.
92 yards. So from the back of that circle to where it starts getting narrow is 92 yards.
Right here or
Yeah,
right
from
here.
right there to the back is 92. So right where your mouse is to the back, if you straight, that's 92 yards. So I'm
Okay.
looking at it
Yeah.
right now.
So you're looking like maybe
So
120 if he's roosted over in
if
here.
he's roosted there. So to me, if I'm going to play it patient, obviously that elevation you're looking at, he's roosted at about 500, 560. You're
You're
probably
looking at like a
standing closer to
60.
600
Yeah. You're looking at a
if
60-foot
I had
drop
to
in
guess.
elevation.
So, and he's probably on your same level with where he's roosted at.
Right.
So to me, that's nothing for him to pitch right straight onto that ridge. He doesn't really
Right.
have to flap his wings a ton. He can pitch straight down onto that ridge and he's there.
Yeah.
And all this is hypothetical, saying that there is a bird roosted there. But if
Right.
he was, I would probably sit in that narrow area and just listen, kind of let him hit the ground. If he's going to fly straight out in this field, obviously don't be standing out in the middle of the field, with your phone in your hand and your gun on your back. Stand on the edge of the woods where you can set up. But I would be, I would probably be in that narrow gap on the right side where that point is.
Right
So
here.
on the opposite side of him, yes, I would probably be right there, listening to him, and just kind of gauging where I think he wants to go. And me and you have talked with this kind of area. I'm not huge on decoys, but how this plays out, I would probably run a quarter strut, half strut Jake, and a breeder hen in
Mm-hmm.
this field just for a visual. And I would have those decoys set facing me. So when that bird comes out, say he's on that creek bottom, he's gobbling pretty good. I'm giving him a few soft calls. He's responding. I've shut up on him. It's about that time for him to fly down. Say he pitches right to the edge of that field and he looks out and across. Well, he's going to see your decoys and they're facing away from him. So immediately in his head, he wants to get in front of your decoys.
Yep.
Well, if your decoys are at 30 yards and he loops around them, you're getting a 25, 15-yard shot.
Right.
And how this property lays out, I would take a decoy. A lot of times when I'm not decoy hunting, I'm in the timber, so I can hide from a bird and make him look. Whereas when I'm hunting these field birds, you almost have to have a decoy,
Yeah.
just because they can get to an edge of a field and look across. And if you're calling and they don't see a turkey, immediately there's a red flag in their head.
Yeah. I learned that in Michigan my very first year up there.
Yep.
I
Yep.
tried to get them to break a tree
So
line and they couldn't see a
yeah,
decoy.
and they just wouldn't come out there,
They
and that
they
that
came
happens a
within
lot.
60.
And so, and the biggest reason I'm going to run a Jake is I've never been on this property. I don't know if there's a dominant bird. I don't know if he's aggressive. I don't know if I'm calling it a satellite bird that's off of the group, off
Right.
of the main flock. I don't know if this bird is super aggressive or if he's not looking for a fight. There could be 5 or 6 Jakes that are ruling this field, and he's the only gobbler. Well, a lot of
Right.
times, and there's I've had people argue with me with this, but I had some buddies that went out to Kansas and they literally watched because in Kansas you can't shoot a Jake. They
Sure.
literally watched a group of Jakes just run toms off of hens, and it was like the Jakes were the one that were breeding the hens, and the gobblers were scared to commit. And
Huh.
they ended up not killing a bird that year. And they went to Kansas. I think they were there for 5 or 6 days, and
Well,
they
I
were
ain't going
watching
there.
Jakes. They were watching Jakes run these longbeards off because there was just too many of them. So, which I mean is good for the population. Don't get me wrong, but that does suck. But that's the
Yeah.
reason I'm probably going to go with a quarter strut Jake and a breeder hen, and maybe a half strut Jake with a breeder hen, just so that, you know, one, if it is a super overly aggressive bird, he's still going to commit. He's still going to come in. But if it's not a super dominant bird and maybe he's been flogged from the boss Tom, he'll probably still come in to check the area out. Now, he might not come in right on your decoys, but he's probably going to come into TSS range.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with you there. One, I'm not going to Kansas now, ever to hunt turkeys because I I've said it before, and people around here think I'm joking, but like a Jake walks in front of me, I'm gonna smack him in his mouth.
Right? Hey,
I
I
don't
got
care.
no. I was videoing one of my buddies last year, and a Jake flew. He flew down in the field, came in, and we had a gobbler just hammering, and I think we would have killed this bird. There was a coyote that ran through, and ran right at the bird gobbling, and
Mhm.
he shut up very quickly after. But I told him, I'm like, dude, if you want to shoot this Jake, hammer him. And he's like, man, I don't know. And he's like going back and forth. I'm like, listen, a bird in the hand, it's hard to not go. And he ended up electing not to shoot the Jake, and we walked out of there with no bird.
Hey, it happens.
Now, the situation, if that coyote doesn't come in and run, I mean, so he came down a field edge, seen us, and then darted off. And when he darted off, he ran straight at the bird that was gobbling.
The
So it
odds.
was just like terrible luck. Yeah, I mean, yeah, what are the odds? Terrible luck.
Yeah.
He shut up, and yeah, we obviously didn't kill that bird.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this right now, looking at this map before I get break into a different area on here and do my breakdown of it. I want to deer hunt this badly. Just based on water, elevation, and field. That dude, this is like my forte right here. This is like that 500 acres I used to hunt last
Yep.
couple of years. So this is like bada bing, bada boom, muscle memory type deal because I that was all hayfield and timber. So
Okay.
all right, so I'm gonna jump in, and we're gonna kind of call it the inverse of where we were just talking. So we've been saying we were right here in this general area. So now we're gonna keep the birds in the same location in our theoretical theory here.
Okay.
Only difference is I'm gonna attack this area right here. Now,
Okay.
looking at this off the road, which most time that's just the way I've done turkey hunting the last 2 years is I like to run and gun. So if I'm not seeing much in one area, hour or two in, I'm back in the vehicle and I'm looking off the road, trying to get permission and go from there. So I'll be coming down the road, probably not gonna come try and shot gobble one right at twilight. What I'll probably do is show up a little later when they're off the roost. That way, as I slow roll this field right here, I can spot glass, whatever, if I have another person to drive for me. Now, that being said, just looking at this map, there looks to be a fence right here
Yep.
or
I would
former
agree.
fence line there.
I would agree. Yeah.
So
Some kind of break up there. Yeah.
that could be key in helping get close to these birds, I think. So say one pitches off the roost, he's in this little right here on top of this ridge by this point. Kind of
Kind of
like,
three coves right there. Yep.
yeah, kind of like a crosshair, the right and the bottom of the crosshair of tree line. We slow roll them. okay, what we're going to do, because this is 600 feet, I'm going to assume all the way up around here, and this is like 580, I think, right in here. What we're
It's
going to do is
560. I'm
okay.
looking at it.
So I would park right in here where my mouse is, and I'm just going to try and kind of work a way around here. Now that's assuming the bird's already out in the field, like I just said, up in that little
Right.
point.
Right.
Um, it'll change here in a second in a different scenario, but I would try and work an angle to get maybe right in this area and try and sneak birds. Maybe use that tree line, set birds here, and then come back like belly crawling basically and get set up. Now it's probably a risky move, but I've done,
Talking about setting your decoys up.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
I've done similar things in the past here in Ohio that has worked out very well, and it just something went haywire at the last second and the bird got away. Um,
Yeah.
but I think even if he's here and I'm working that right by that fence line, if he has no idea I'm there and I put those decoys out and then I start making some soft yelps, get his attention type deal. I don't want to like be like, hey, come fight me. You know,
Right.
I'm gonna be like, hey,
I'm over here.
just
Come
letting you
come have a
know
look.
there's a couple of us down
Yeah.
here. Get his attention. He might come down off that ridge, which doesn't look like he's going to lose a whole lot of elevation. So he might be inclined to do so a little better. He comes down. I mean, all he has to do is basically clear this little tree line. And he's probably in range right here. Dead
Yeah.
bird.
He's probably not far out if he's
So
breaking that tree line.
now the whole key to that is if you put your decoys out and you're not slow and concise in your movements, you're going to bust yourself. But in a different sense, if you just work that tree line out or that fence line right here, like I'll zoom in, there's probably enough cover right here behind. You could work this on your belly and go right to this bush and then out from this bush or go to this bush and then set them right here. And you're still gold right there.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I'm looking at your yardages right now, and yeah, if you were set up
That's probably
on
20
that,
yards.
oh, across there, it's closer than that. I can tell you that. You're probably looking at 10, not even. Yeah, that is 11 yards across
Perfect.
from that point, from point to point. It's 11 yards.
So that being the case, if he's out in here, he comes here, he's in range where my mouse is with what I'm running this year.
And where are you setting up at? You're setting up on that far corner.
Right in this area.
So that's 61 yards from that point to that little to the middle of that dry spot.
Okay, so maybe he
So
would have
pretty
to come a
much
little
almost
closer.
right where your pretty much mouse was. You
Right.
know,
So
if he's on the south side of that dry kind of grass looking area, right
yeah,
where your
right.
mouse is
Yeah,
there,
right here where the
to
color
you
change
to
is.
that point, that's 44 yards. So you're smoking.
With TSS, I'm smacking him.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's honestly with TSS, I like those birds between like that 30-40 area.
Yeah. Now,
Open up that pattern and just let it eat.
say we do it a little differently. We slow roll. We don't see nothing, so we pull off because we have permission to hunt this property. Let's say we
Yep.
we pull off. We make a few gobbles, try and get some shot gobbles. He's back in these coves now. We don't know which one, but we know he's back here. Same deal. We're gonna come down here and park. Only difference is we're probably not gonna cut through the timber. If we do, we're cutting up
Okay.
this creek line, and we're
Yep.
not gonna try
Which
and
you got
get
to remember, that's a pretty good ravine.
right. So we're not going to try and cover any uphill ground until we're close enough to do so.
Yep.
But either way, it's going to be a long haul for a bird right here. Now, if we know he's back in here, this is not going to work coming up right here. He's probably not going to want to come uphill to a call out in the open. He's going to feel vulnerable. So at that point, we'll probably come try and get in this timber somewhere in here or circle through this field up and around through that creek line up in this area back behind and try and work them into the woods and pull them in.
Yep.
Just and at that point, you can just drop weight and cut and go because you ain't going to need decoys back here.
I was just getting ready to ask, are you moving? How quick are you moving? You moving quick, or are you doing the old
Oh,
move
I'm
15 yards and stop?
if well, if I'm not going up this creek line, the first scenario on the left here where I'm going to try and pull them in this pocket, I'll probably move, listen, stop. If I'm
Yeah.
trying to get them up here, dude, bahawing through this crick line and I'm getting up there as
moving
fast
as
as
fast as
possible.
possible.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
that's just my thoughts on it because if he's already back here and I'm parking all the way down here, he's moving more than likely. Now,
Yep.
not a Merriam moving, but that's still a lot of
Right.
ground to cover. That's probably what, 500 yards, somewhere in there from the
Probably roughly.
road
It might be. It's probably a little bit less from the road
all the way up to right in here.
to from your parking point up to where is your mouse at? Up there. You're probably it is. It's over. It's actually 600.
Yeah, yeah, so we got some ground to cover and we got to
So
cover
you got some
quick.
ground to cover. Yep.
Yeah, so
Yep.
that crick line would be crucial to moving quickly. Um,
Yep.
that one's this one's a lot simpler, I think, than trying to figure out whether he's pitching in this field and trying to get an elevation change on him. But I think it all depends on this one thing, and
This is.
we'll kind of wrap it up on this. But the none of this matters if you can't figure out where the bird's at.
Yep.
You got to find the
Yep.
bird first.
In both of our scenarios, the common ground was we're not pushing super far into the property. Yours was, hey, we're getting there after light. We're going to see if we can't like either see him from the road or hear him. Mine was, hey, we're getting there before light, but we're not going to be super early, and we're going to
Right.
listen, figure out where they're roosting. That's the biggest thing I think when I'm attacking a new property. Obviously, I'm going to e-scout it and I'm going to look at it just so that I have in my head kind of where I'm headed to. But when I'm e-scouting for turkeys, I'm more of looking at a broader picture. I'm looking at, okay, do I think this piece of property can hold turkeys?
Right.
Now, a lot of times, if I'm going to try to get permission, I've already seen birds there.
Yep.
Very rarely do I ask for permission on a place that I haven't seen birds.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of times, okay, hey, can I have permission to hunt these turkeys? Yes, you can. Then I'm going to pull up my maps, kind of like we've done today. I'm going to look at, is there water? Where do I think they're going to be roosted? What are kind of my thoughts? But I'm still not just going to dive into a property.
Right.
I'm going to be super patient. I'm not going to walk down the middle of that field. In both scenarios, in mine, I'm not just going to trench, all the way through that hayfield, stand in the middle of the field and just sit there and listen.
Yeah.
I'm going to be closer to the access point because you don't know where those turkeys are going to be roosted. And even with yours, you're waiting a little bit longer and you're trying to find them from the road, which
Mm-hmm.
both cases, we're waiting to see where the turkey's at before we start diving into it.
Yeah. It's and if you're not a deer hunter or a bow hunter, then you're not going to understand this reference, but it's very much like pre-rut hunting. It's
Yes.
especially on a new property like this. You
Yep.
are taking general information. Now, say
Yep.
you slow rolled a field, you saw them in the field, or
Yep.
the farmer told you as you knocked on the door to get permission as an out-of-state hunter, oh, I got a nice buck up in such and such field, whatever. You're not going to just dive in and throw a freaking helo Novix up in right at this point. You're not going to do that.
Right.
You'll bust out the entire property. You'll never see a deer
Right.
that's worth shooting unless you're absolutely lucky and there's a hot doe more than likely, which isn't going to happen pre-rut more than likely. What you're going to do, and you'll hear it in any kind of hunting professional hunter out there, is you're going to work the outside fringes in, and that's the
Yep.
way and you're going to look for
Your
their
first basis,
necessities.
you're gonna do you're gonna do an observation sit.
Yep.
You're gonna find an area that you think is gonna work. You're gonna sit, you're gonna watch, you're gonna listen. You're gonna collect as much intel as you can, and then you're
Yeah.
gonna start getting closer. And it's the same way with turkeys. You're gonna do an observation. Obviously it's a little bit different because you're able to run around on turkeys than you are deer. But you're
Right.
gonna sit there, you're gonna listen, you're gonna observe. Okay, where do I think these birds are? Where are they actually? And then from your observation, now you can take an educated guess. Okay, I think they're going to work out into the field, or okay, hey, I think they might follow this creek bottom. Let them fly down, figure out where they're going, try to get in front of them, call when you're in their bubble, and you're probably you might not kill the bird, but you're going to be daggone close.
Right. And I think it's pretty simple concept. Obviously, best case scenario is get boots on the ground in
Yes.
any instance of hunting, but
Yep.
especially if you're brand new to the piece. Now, if you've seen it once or twice, shed hunted it 1, 2, 3 years ago, whatever. Okay, it's not as necessary, but you're going to miss things if you don't. But you got to pay attention to details. And I'd say
Yep.
your
The little
key,
stuff.
the key to finding any kind of animal when you're hunting them on a new piece of property is look for their necessities. Everything's got to drink, everything's got to eat, everything's got to have a place to sleep. You find a correlation between those three, whether it's a turkey, a rabbit, a deer, whatever, you're going to see something. You're going to figure
Yep.
something out. You're
Yep.
going to be able to sit that observation and put the pieces together. So that's what um, I'll leave you with that. I think that's pretty well. I think this went well. I'm excited to see how this goes over on stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll have to do it again for deer season.
No, yeah, definitely. I enjoy, me and you have talked. I'm a e-scouting just nut. And I mean, I'm
yep.
constantly looking at different states, places, areas, constantly figuring out how I can evaluate a farm. Maybe, I've given you a couple of my little tidbits on how I'll break through something or how I'll look at something different than anybody else will. But this is my bread and butter. This
Yeah.
is what I literally love to do. I mean, we drove to Wyoming, it's 19 and a half hours. I had 5 different pins on areas and we found birds at all 5 pins. I know 2 of the pins we didn't hear gobbles, but we were looking at dust bowls, we're finding tracks.
Mm-hmm.
There were turkeys there. Um, Obviously, I killed at one of my pins. Dad killed at one of my pins, and the other pin, um, a guy that we met there, Turkey Hunting USA, he was already in there on the pin and was working a bird. And so we pulled out, and I know that he was trying to get it done with a pistol, which is crazy hard.
Oh my goodness.
Um, yeah, yeah. And I know he said that if he would have had a shotgun, he could have killed a bird. So 3 of the pins, we had birds, and the
Birds in
2 other
killing
pins,
distance.
yeah, and then 2 of the pins, we didn't hear gobbles, but we knew there were birds there. We just didn't end up having to go there.
Right. See that's similar to what I did in Michigan 2 years ago when I first e-scouted
Yep.
Michigan, and I haven't e-scouted it since because I just go back to the same spot I've been e-scouted.
Right.
Um, I had like 7 or 8 pins in 2 counties combined.
Yep.
I drove every single pin in the first 2 days while I was hunting that 2 years ago. I saw 45 birds between the time I got there and started hitting pins to the time I left after I killed my bird. And you know what? I don't think there's anything else that needs to be said about that. When you e-scout and you do your homework and you show up to a place and you go to every one of your pins and you see everything you're looking for, you did
Yep.
everything right.
Yep. Yep. And the biggest thing too is like if you are doing, this is a little bit, it's still into the e-scouting. Have that A, B, C, D, E. Have multiple plans. Don't just,
Yeah.
don't look at one area and say, okay, I'm going to have 5 pins in this one big block, and this is where I think birds are. Well, if you get there and there's 15 other hunters that had the same idea that you had,
Now what?
now all of your e-scouting was put into one area and you're competing with 15 other guys.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is have a plan B, C, D, E, don't be afraid to have 5, 10 different pins.
Alphabet
I mean,
number line.
right. One of my pins that, Billy from Turkey Hunting USA was in there. Okay, if that was my only pin and he's in there, obviously he was in there before we were. I'm not going to go in there and tramp. It was what I targeted in Wyoming was very small pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And that piece, if there was 2 groups of hunters in there, it would have been tough. We would have competed against each other for one bird.
Yeah.
I don't like doing that. That's not my style of hunting. Obviously, when I'm back home and I'm hunting local birds, I'll park at a parking spot if there's nobody there, and you know there's a parking spot 100 yards away that somebody else is going to park at. So you're going to compete, but having 5, 10, 15 different pins helps to you don't have to compete.
Yeah.
And we never had to.
I'll
We
just
we were that
do
whole
this
trip was luck.
quick, just to that point itself. So I've scouted Colorado, South Dakota, New York, Michigan, Ohio, West Virginia. Now, South Dakota, I have time to do more on it. Looks like I've scouted Kansas also, or not Kansas. Yeah, Colorado. The MPA. There's just pins everywhere. Pins everywhere. Now, I'm not giving up any of my deeds here, but
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I literally do is I'll sit there and I will throw pins everywhere, everywhere,
And that's the
because
best
you
way to
never
do it.
know what you're going to run into. You might think this pin is awesome, get there, and it's not another hunter that's messing it up. It's the AAP crew went in there and cleaned the right of way out 2 days before.
Oh,
You
yep.
know, you never know what's going to be there. Go in with a plan. Mike Tyson said it the best. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
So they get punched in the mouth. Yep.
So expect to be punched in the mouth, especially if you're hunting out of state, and be ready to counter. You
Yes.
can't ever be more, you can't be too prepared ever. So,
Nope.
but I think that's it for this week, guys. Um, again, if you didn't watch this one, you need to watch it. It'll be on Spotify. You can literally open up the Spotify app and click the episode as it's playing, and it will show the video. Or I'm going to put it on YouTube also under Grindstone Adventures.
Heck
Um,
yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if I can send this whole recording or not. We'll see. We'll try it, and I'll send it to you if you want to, and you can throw it up on
Okay.
your YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with that, guys, thanks for watching and listening. We really appreciate the support. This is awesome. We're 9 weeks into this now, so
Yeah.
feels awesome. But
You're rolling.
we appreciate it, guys. We don't care how you do it, just go do it.
Just go
Deuces.
do it, fellas. See ya.